Hey guys, I'm about to bust up some myths about when your child should be ready to start kindergarten. Let's get started. The first myth that I'm about to bust is that all children should be ready to start kindergarten by the age of 5. False. This is false. Some children are ready to start kindergarten when they're 4, some it's 6. It all just depends upon your child. I think a lot of times we get caught in the comparison trap. We compare our own children to older children. We compare them to children outside of our home. We compare them to ourselves and what our parents told us about when we started kindergarten. Don't get stuck in the comparison trap. Follow your child's lead. If they're ready, if they're 4, start them in kindergarten. If they're not ready and you don't feel like they are and they're 5 years old, wait a little bit longer. You'd be surprised at what 2 or 3 months difference makes in your child's ability and readiness to start anything. The second myth that I'm about to bust is that starting kindergarten after the age of 5 means they'll be behind. Behind what? They're not going to be behind. They are right where they are supposed to be and learning at their pace. There is no such thing as behind. You know your child. Progress them as you see fit. Progress them as they ask. Progress them as they progress. One thing I will say is that we really need to assess why we feel like this is the standard. Are we listening to outside factors? And are we speaking from our own experiences? And do those experiences or those outside factors, do they serve us now for what it is that we're trying to do for our child? If they're useless, throw them out. The next myth is that if your child is not picking up books at the age of 5, that they're not ready to start kindergarten. Who says? One thing I want you to consider is think about your environment. Are there distractions that are keeping your child from picking up books or getting into learning with other educational items? They could be watching too much TV. They could be on the tablet. They could be playing, but maybe that play is keeping them from picking up books. Maybe all of the books are tucked away in a bin nice and neatly in the closet. Maybe they don't see anyone else in your home reading books. If they're an only child, they don't have siblings reading books. Those books may not be appealing to them. So we have to consider the environment that our child is in and foster that type of environment that we want them to see. If we want them to read books, we should pick up books. We should read books with them. We should have books readily available. So don't count your child out for starting kindergarten just because they're not picking up books or other educational material on a whim. Another thing when it goes to educational material, think about it. Your child may be intimidated. If they see you working with older children and they see all of these things going on, they may just be intimidated. Yes, 4, 5, 6-year-olds, they get intimidated as well. They may be intimidated and say, I don't want that life. So we have to make them comfortable and encourage them in their learning. This doesn't mean that they're not ready or they are ready to start kindergarten. We don't want to force them one way or the other, but providing an environment that is suitable for them to learn is great. The next myth that I'm going to bust is that they should be excited about learning any and all things. No. I'm not excited about learning any and all things as well. If something's difficult, I don't want to do it. If something's boring, I don't want to do it. I'm pretty sure children are the exact same way. If you hand your 4, 5, 6-year-old worksheets and they slide it off the table, they may not be a worksheets person. Grab you some manipulatives and see how their learning evolves when they are intrigued by something. All learning is different. They don't have to sit at a desk. They could hop and jump around. There are curriculums out there for all different learning types. Find what works for your child and see how they evolve. Don't count them out simply because they don't love math, language arts, Spanish, spelling, whatever else we're introducing to our children at the age of, oh wait, they don't start kindergarten at a certain age. The next myth that I'm busting up is that they need to be able to work independently in several areas in order to start kindergarten. I'm convinced this is a public school requirement. No, our children do not need to be independent in anything before they start kindergarten. I'm just not convinced. Yes, my child can do a lot of things, but does she do everything independently? No, she does not. We are starting kindergarten because she is ready to start kindergarten. It doesn't mean that if she wasn't independent in any area that we were not going to start. Independence is something that grows. I have a 10 and a 9-year-old, and there are still areas that they do not work independently. One of the beauties of homeschooling is that we get to be there for our children. Independence does not make them less likely to learn, grow, succeed in this world. None of those things. They will get there when the time is right. And we don't ever want to rush them in that process. If you want to see how our kindergarten year is going to go, make sure you subscribe to the channel.